everyone, and welcome back to the She Shoots podcast, Women Empowering Women in the Shooting Community, Season 2, Episode 15, Guns of the Golden West. Today's episode will be covering the theme of organizations. So my name is Regina Ruiz Ordóñez, and I'm from the Canadian University Shooting Federation. And joining me today, as always, are Deneen Tumlin and Casey Gavinchuk from Lady Guns, and Kelly Melanson from Maple Seed Project, Sunfire Radio, and CCFR Women's Program. Let's start by thanking our sponsors, Cabela's Canada Outdoor Fund, positively shaping the future of the outdoors. Every cent donated by rounding up at checkout goes towards helping out Canadian organizations just like ours. Savage Arms, home to the Stevens single-shot rifles and shotguns. Beretta, family-owned and operated since 1526. Vortex, the best in optics, and Canada First Ammo. If you have any questions or comments throughout the show, make sure to leave them in the chat box below. Doing so will automatically enter you in the draw for today's giveaways. Today, we are giving away a She Shoots t-shirt and a Canada First Ammo prize pack. Also, later, Mitchell from the CUSF will be joining us to announce the winner of the International Women's Day draw. So the prize for that is the Sacco S20. Also, before we move on to our guests for today, I'd like to give a huge thank you to everyone that attended the International Women's Day events throughout Canada in Ontario, Calgary, and Vancouver. And also a huge thank you to the clubs and their volunteers, Carleton Firearms Association, UFC Firearms Association, and UBC Shotgun Sports. So that's it for me. So Deneen and Kelly, up to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Regina, and welcome back to She Shoots, everyone. Kelly, we've got some absolutely amazing guests tonight.
We do. Amazing guests.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Yeah,
I am too, and I've got the pleasure of doing some introductions. Now they've got some amazing bios, and I had to unfortunately chop them down a little bit, but because we have so much to talk about, and we have three amazing guests to interview, I'm going to jump right in to the bios, and then we're going to get into some questions. So tonight we have three fabulous people from Guns of the Golden West, and it's my pleasure to introduce the three of them. So the first guest, Mr. Bob Wilson, also known as Black Bart. He's the president of Guns of the Golden West. Now, Bob began his reenactment journey 34 years ago with the Stampede Sixguns and furthered it with Guns of the Golden West. He is a born and raised Calgarian and has spent many years entertaining and meeting folks from around the world. Bob's his first, was a Ruger Blackhawk 357, and he told a member he was with that was all he needed. We all laugh, right? He now owns 17 pistols, 10 rifles, and an undisclosed shotguns, with his favorites being his prized nickel-plated Colt 45s, along with his Alfonso double rig, and I'm sure we're going to hear about that a little bit later. Bob has had a career including being a purchasing agent, a bartender at Heritage Park here in Calgary, a public speaker, a background actor in film and TV, and is a reenactor in evenings and on weekends with Guns of the Golden West. So Bob turned 70 last year, and he says he's never acted his age, and he's not about to start now. And he's surrounding himself with beautiful women in the firearms industry. So I can say he's doing a great job. All right.
Yeah.
The second guest I have the pleasure of introducing is Kellyanne, also known as Outlaw Annie. Kelly was given her first gun, which was a .22 LR at 5 years old by her dad, who taught her proper firearms safety. She joined him every chance she could hunting big game in the mountains of BC. She has had her PAL for over 20 years and her RPAL for 8 years. Kelly has always had a passion for firearms, especially six shooters. So when she met a number of members of Guns of the Golden West at the Easter Gun Show here in Calgary 8 years ago, she knew she found a group she wanted to join, and she says the rest has been burnt powder. She loves that you can be someone else from a different time and have fun being from the 1880s era. She says this group is one big family, and it includes her real family, her husband, and their 13 and 6-year-old daughters. They're all members as well. That's That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Last but certainly not least, Miss Hannah Peterson, also known as Ruby Roan. Hannah is a 25-year-old homesteader from rural southern Alberta. She had a love of history and horses since before she could walk. She completed a bachelor's degree in Western Canadian history from the U of S, specializing in Western ranching operations and settler First Nations relations. She's an experienced draft horse teamster, working at Heritage Park for a few years as the ranch supervisor and then working on a horse and cattle ranch south of Calgary. And she's currently in the process of gun breaking her youngest mare named Sarcy to begin a mounted shooting career. She put in brackets if she ever has time, and is also on a path into the antique appraisal industry. She's always had an interest in guns, specifically historical firearms, believing there's something very powerful in knowing how to use them. Her two prized revolvers, Ruger and Pieta, I think I'm saying that correctly, hopefully, and her nifty little mare's leg and her great-grandfather's rifle. She got involved with Guns of the Golden West in 2021 when Bob and another member of the club invited her to join them at the Calgary Stampede parade. Now, she's been part of this club ever since. So 3 amazing people. We've got an hour to talk and learn more about them, Kelly. So those are our guests tonight. And welcome to each one of you. And thank you so much for showing up in your alias. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, this is amazing. It's great to see everybody dressed in that era and the stuff that they would wear as reenactors, but also going by your aliases as well. Kelly is on the podcast tonight, and my name is Kelly as well. So we had a little chat before the starting of the show, and I asked if it'd be okay if I called her Annie to try and keep things straight for those that are listening, especially. But what great bios as well. They're really well-rounded bios as well. It's great to see that there's some heritage in there as well, caring for your family's firearms and being introduced by dad into the shooting sports and that as well. But why don't we actually just go around and get everybody to introduce themselves a little bit, just to say hi as well. So Outlaw Annie, Kelly, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Good evening, y'all. Anyway, so I'm Outlaw Annie, or if you see me on the street, I don't look anything like this. I wear comfort and jeans. Been at the club for 8 years. Love every day of it. It's an absolute riot. My daytime, I am a mother and I ranch. And we've got a farm in Balzac. So other than that, you can usually catch me horseback when it's not too cold.
Perfect. And that's a little bit like when we say introduce yourselves, I know that we had a great bio for each one of you, but that's exactly what we're hoping to hear, a little bit more about who you are specifically as Kellyanne, and then we'll get into the Outlaw Annie. What about you, Bob? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you like to do?
Yeah, well, quite frankly, I guess probably born and raised in the city was just where I shouldn't have been. I probably would have had a much more fulfilling life if I'd have been, for instance, like my 2 colleagues here out in the country. I think that I would have taken and prospered, both I guess in my professional life and also just for the after hours type life, because it was something that I didn't have an opportunity. I had friends and family that farmed up around Westlock, Alberta. And so, of course, there'd be the summer trip up to the farm where I, for a couple of weeks, become a rancher. And that really wasn't enough to satisfy, I guess, all my wants and desires. But I'm making up for it now in the last 30 years.
Yeah, it's been 34 years. That's a long time to actually be involved in this. So congratulations on that. Ruby Roan. Hannah, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody. Well, like they said, my real name is Hannah when I go in the streets, but when I'm reenacting, my alias is Ruby Roan. I'm sure we'll get into the origins of these aliases pretty soon, but
yeah,
like my bio said, I'm 25 years old and I'm actually fairly new to the club. I only joined a couple of years ago, and I'm probably a little on the, I wouldn't say inexperienced side, but I'm fairly new to the world of firearms specifically. I do have a lengthy history of history, actually. So that's what I did in post-secondary, and that's actually what I do in my daily life too. I live on a ranch, and I do quite a bit of homesteading. I have a 25-foot by 25-foot vegetable garden that I like to grow every year, and we've got horses. I've got a giant chicken coop with a bunch of chickens, got some ducks. We've got a whole bunch of dogs and cats, and three regular size horses, a mini mule, and 2 draft horses, Percherons specifically. So we've got a whole herd of everything you could ever imagine down where I live. So
yeah, it sounds like this fits right in within your lifestyle as well. So
it does. Actually, I was waitressing at a restaurant, and this was before I joined the Guns of the Golden West, and we had some of the members come in, and I said, I want to serve that table because those are my kind of people. So.
They look like they're fun. Yeah. So why don't we actually get into a little bit about Guns of the Golden West? We'll get Bob to tell us all about that since he's been around for a little bit. So, Bob, who and what exactly is Guns of the Golden West?
Well, thank you for asking. And again, just would like to say we're certainly happy to join people with a common interest here this evening with Lady Guns, and thank you for the invite. But for Guns of the Golden West, a passion, of course, of mine and my 2 colleagues and 35 others. We're a reenactment group. As I mentioned, we have a current membership of 35 people. And we are basically those that have a common interest, just like anyone in the shooting sports does. We just simply take it to a little different area. We, of course, use actual firearms. We're only allowed to use blanks, of course, when we're performing our different events that we're at, whether it's reenacting a certain event or whether it's just arresting the CEO of a company at a barbecue. Again, our kit, as we call it, is the 1880s type kit. We all have our costumes, as one might refer to them. We call them kit. So for a period of a few hours, we become someone else, somewhere else. And it never gets any better than that. We have existed now since 1981. And that may not seem like a lot of time. Some of our members actually began with the build up to the club, starting with basically the Centennial Sixguns in 1967. 3 of our members actually began then. They were still members of the group in 1981 when we became an actual recognized association with the Societies Act of Alberta. So we're very proud of that fact. We also are a reenactment group, the only shooting reenactment group that has the blessing of the Chief Firearms Office as a mobile range. So whenever we do a show anywhere, that location becomes a range for the period of time that we're there. Now, I don't want to scare the people, the listeners and the viewers. We don't use real ammunition, of course, which simply blanks, but at any rate, in the eyes of the law and the Chief Firearms Office, that is a range at that point.
Yes.
We have an exceptionally good reputation with law enforcement in terms of the local law enforcement. That could be the RCMP. That could be, of course, city police in various centers. We have traveled outside of Alberta. We have been in Winnipeg, ironically, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a football game. We've been
That's
to
really cool.
Yeah, Grand Prairie, Slave Lake. We've been out to Nanaimo for a fair that was out there. And probably the most memorable was the time we were invited to the Trinchera Ranch down in Colorado by a rather eccentric millionaire that had built an actual strip town for us to perform in for a week. And
why not?
That's amazing.
It doesn't get any better than that, as I guess I've said before. The group is comprised, as you can see, we have females in our group, we have males, we have old, we have young. Of course, young Beretta's been involved with us, Kelly's daughter. And then we have old guys like me, and we actually have one of our members that's 83 years old and act with us. Of course, most of the members will have a PAL, will own firearms, but it's not a necessity. It is simply a matter of if they enjoy reenacting the Old West and whatever it is. And those reenactments can be real or imagined. Gunfight at the OK Corral. Okay, that actually existed. We've done that many times. Then we might just make something up. We're going to be doing something here coming up for the Calgary Fish and Game Association coming up, where they're actually, my colleague Kelly is going to be involved in that. And so we're going to surprise the MC, and she will have apparently be in a family way. And we're going to be accusing the MC of not honoring his obligations. And there
That's hilarious.
Kerfuffle over that. So real and imagined. We have fun doing it no matter what we do. Some requires some preparation, a little bit of practice ahead of time, but a lot of it is improv. And so it becomes just a wonderful way. Some people golf, some people curl. My colleagues and I, we rob trains. We just have a great time.
That's wonderful.
Sorry, I'll just add one other item, guys, in terms of something that annually is very important to us is that we're involved with the Calgary Exhibition and Stampede Parade. I have the last few years here, we've had a combined entry of our Concord Stagecoach. Yes, we actually own a Concord Stagecoach. And so it becomes a real jewel in our entry. Plus we put a float that's on behind, which is a hay wagon. And we usually have just a real ruckus there. And this particular year, it's going to be a matter of having a poker game on board the float, and there'll be a bathtub towed behind, and one of our members is going to be in that bathtub in red underwear. So it's never a dull day with the Guns of the Golden West. And a lot of it is because of the efforts put in by my colleagues, two of which you see here. Yeah, I thank them very much for their participation.
Well, it sounds like it's a lot of fun. So you said that you're reenactors, so that instead of staging, it's kind of like staging, isn't it?
Sure, it is. Again, we're given a time frame to perform in. It could be they've asked for, as I may have mentioned, something that specifically did happen. Then again, it may be they're going to say, it's been a good year. The boss is up there, going to be handing out bonuses. We'd like to take and razz them a bit. Oh, we're happy to do that.
So you do private events. Obviously, you went down to Colorado, but you also do something big for, like, as you said, the Calgary Stampede. So when I went onto your website, it showed that you're available for these reenactments, whether it's a private party or if it's something maybe your town wants to do, or, as I said, a huge event like the Calgary Stampede.
Absolutely. There's no impossible. The word doesn't exist. We can make something happen, and we're happy to do so.
You guys are also involved in the film industry. Is that correct? Or I know some of your members are?
That's right. Really. Some of the members are involved in. I do background work myself. Over the years, there's been others, actually a couple of the members that are just not active now. They were quite involved in Unforgiven, some of the pictures that were made here in Calgary.
Oh, that's great. Now you say that you, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so for anybody who's watching, we will have the contact information for Guns of the Golden West posted, and we'll have it available. So if having reenactors to your event or as part of your activities is something you're interested in, we'll make sure to let everybody know how to get a hold of you. There we go. Thanks, Casey.
It sounds like it's going to be it's so much fun. I can understand why everybody wants to try it out. It sounds like it's a ton of fun.
Well, we're certainly sorry. Just one last comment there. There, absolutely. If there's one of your listeners, or two, or three, or four, we'd be happy to take and let them test drive us. We'll have them what we call guest out at one of our events, and
Okay.
it's so that it's not a direct commitment. It's again, just as I call it, a test drive. See if it's something they'd really like to do, and and of course, if they feel they have value added to what we do, then we'll talk, and we could have the next Outlaw Annie or
Ruby Run.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Let's talk about how people get involved on the inside. So why don't we
Yeah.
switch over to the ladies a little bit, if you don't mind, Black Bart, and let's talk
Okay.
Annie and Ruby Roan and ask them how they got involved. We talked a little bit about that in your bio, but I mean, somebody had to walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I want to be a reenactor," or "How do I get involved?" Which one of you ladies wants to tell your story first?
I can do this one if you want, Hannah. And I'll let you go afterwards because ours are pretty
Sure.
much totally different. How we joined, how we met, essentially, met the group. I was at the Easter gun show, wandering around with a boyfriend at the time, and I saw the group, and everybody was dressed in kit, and I just knew I had to do it. Like, I've always loved the Old West. I've always said I would rather be born in the 1800s than deal with everything in society nowadays. And that, but yeah, no, like we do everything. Like I love it. Like my whole family does it. Like the biggest one is my daughter.
So you just walked up to them and said, "Hey."
Yeah. Like I said in my bio, the rest is spent powder. Like my daughter at 10 days old, we did a show.
Wow.
Like we had pictures. Actually, Black Bart, he's uncle to my daughter, and that he was actually at the hospital. She wasn't even 24 hours old yet, and inducting her as a new member.
Amazing.
Don't
You
want to
truly
waste
are
any
family.
time.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Ruby, you talked
How
about
about
it a
you,
little
Ruby
bit.
Roan? How did you get involved?
Yeah, so I was actually fairly new to the group in the 2022 season because I only joined in 2021. And I actually found out about the group through a coworker of mine. We were driving horses at Heritage Park in Calgary, and that's where Black Bart's saloon happens to be as well. So Kevin, who is the member that I was working with at the time, he said, we're going to be in the Calgary Stampede parade, which was actually the very modified version, the modified COVID version. But they said, you know what, why don't you come out? We need some draft horse experienced people to come out anyway to kind of work with the stagecoach. So why don't you come out? So I got the day off of work and I went out and I said, I'll just wear my Heritage Park costume because it fits right in. So that's when I kind of got involved with it. And it was sort of mid-season, the time that I got a taste for it. But that next season is when I actually joined as a member, and I'd been in the works of getting my restricted gun license. And Bob actually helped me finally get it because that was a bit of a long process. But 2022 was my first real season with them.
Sounds like you actually have been.
All right. Well, let's talk about the alias.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely. Sorry. We got a little delay, so we're talking over each other a little bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about aliases? How do you decide who and what your character, your alias, is going to be? How did Outlaw Annie become Outlaw Annie?
Outlaw Annie.
And who is she?
Annie? I guess you could say I'm very outgoing. Like Black Bart and I, he's same age as my father, but him and I have a riot together. Like we can do it. I can say anything, and he can say anything back to me. Like, and thank goodness, neither of us get offended. Easy. But no, like I was just, that just came about pretty much because with my middle name being Anne, and like I'm pretty good with my 30-30 knots, so it kind of stuck, and because I do both as you can see in my current kit, I'm in my saloon girl outfit, of corset, but a lot of times also I go in full leathers and I'm an outlaw. So, and no fencing.
So you can have more than one kit.
Yes. I actually make a lot of my own kit. I've got everything from like big fancy Victorian ladies dresses that I've made to the saloon girl to a school marm, everything. But this is school marm, that's just not me. I'm too outgoing. I'm buoyant for that. Like putting into perspective, another one with the aliases, my husband. He's known as the backwards kid because he started out with his gun belt. My husband's left-handed. Well, he had to turn his gun boot around. So it just started with that one. He's now the backwards kid. So, because he had to pull his gun out backwards out of the boot.
That's a good one. That's a great one. So,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite costume or favorite kit that you feel more at home in when you're in character?
My corset, my saloon girl. As weird as it is, the corset's actually very comfortable.
Fantastic.
Long as they're custom made for you, then
no, I think it looks fantastic.
It's very comfortable. So I don't know, Ruby.
We had a chat with the guest.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, we had a chat with a guest last season who is wears a corset, and she talked about wearing that and slinging guns and how sometimes it doesn't work so well. But yeah. So how about you, Ruby? Excuse me.
So I was hemming and hawing about my alias for quite a while, because being a history buff, I didn't know if I wanted to be somebody from the past or if I wanted to make somebody up myself. So I kind of did a little bit of both. Obviously, Ruby Roan is not a real person. It's just something that I made up, but she's more along the lines of based on a lady by the name of Pearl Hart. She was actually the last female stagecoach robber of the Wild West back in the 1890s. So she donned men's clothing, she cut her hair, and she robbed a stagecoach with her boyfriend, basically. But I've always liked her. I dressed up as for Halloween as her when I was like 12. So she's always been somebody who I thought was really neat. She was a bad guy. She went to jail, but she's sort of who my character is based off of. But I figured I don't look exactly like her. I mean, I've got red hair. I ride horses. I don't just rob stagecoaches. So figured Ruby because of my hair and Roan because it's a horse term. So that's kind of where my alias came from.
That's actually really cool. I like that. I like that
Awesome.
you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
It's cool that it has a historical context.
So I'm just going to jump in if that's okay, Denis. Okay. So you've explained your aliases, how you got into Guns of the Golden West as well. Let's take it a little bit away from that. So you use guns as part of the reenactment, but are you also shooters when you're not reenacting? Are you shooters or are you hunters? Do you actually go out and shoot competitions or anything like that?
Well, I can start with this one. So myself, I've been hunting my entire life. I was raised with it. I do everything. We go grouse hunting. My daughters both, my oldest daughter, my 13-year-old daughter's now started to get into hunting with us too. Okay. And that we always big game everything. I put in my draws every year, which should be coming up soon. Remember?
Yeah.
I would love to get into SAS and just start doing competition shooting, but there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So, but I do my own mounted shooting a lot. So, because I will haul to the back country for hunting and everything with the horses.
Okay.
So, and actually I've already told Ruby Roan if she needs help gun breaking helping with the gun breaking, that she can haul out to my place and we can practice, because just last week I ended up having to use my one mare as a gun rest because she wouldn't move.
Wow.
And I had to shoot a coyote that was getting way too comfortable out in my pasture.
Wow. And yeah, Ruby, you actually did say that you were breaking one of your horses so that you were going to do mounted shooting. So that's something that's really exciting. What other types of shooting do you like to do?
That's actually my main focus right now. I've like Kellyanne said, there's only 24 hours in a day, and I've been extremely busy this past year, but that is actually one of my biggest goals, is to get my youngest mare, Sarcy. She's a bit of a spaz right now, but she's a really good horse. But I'm, in the process of trying to get her trained up and gun broke so that I can hopefully potentially in the future compete with the Alberta Mounted Shooting Association and maybe get into that. I mean, I was a competitive gymnast for over a decade when I was younger, so I've still got that competitive fire in me, but I've, taken a break from 5 days a week of training. It's been kind of nice not to have any big commitments lately, but we'll see what the future brings.
Well, I wish you good luck. And that's also something that you can also do in conjunction with your reenacting. I know that you can travel and do the mounted shooting, but also at, the Calgary Stampede. They have that as well. Maybe it might be a goal of yours for the future. But yeah, it sounds like you're all actively involved in not only reenacting, but you're also actively involved in the shooting sports as well. Do you use real guns in, I was going to ask this of Bob, but so he was talking about using blanks, but you do use real guns when you go out as reenactors with the Guns of the Golden West. Is that right,
Yes.
Ruby? Yeah. Okay. What types of guns do you have specifically that you use for the reenacting?
Myself, it's a pain in our demise. My husband loves it. We've got a Navy open top that loves to jam when it gets too hot. The wonderful pen. I've got my 30-30. I've got my 45 rifle on that. Or another one I use a lot with the club. It's not mine. Actually, Black Bart has it, but he's got a Derringer. That with the Saloon Girl outfit, it fits perfectly between the cleavage of my corset.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What about you, Ruby? What guns do you use during your reenactment?
So as of last April, I was actually able to get my first handgun because Black Bart finally helped me receive my RPAL in the mail. But I bought a 45 Ruger Blackhawk at a gun show last year, and that was my first ever gun that I owned myself, and I was very, very proud of it. And it's one of my prized possessions. And then I was able to get a little 45 Pieta as well before, some more restrictions came in. And actually my boyfriend he's got a big arsenal of all sorts of guns, but they're a little too modern for what we do. So those are sort of my two main guns.
Sounds like Black Bart was helping you out quite a bit. That's the other question I did have. It has to be something that's period, correct?
It's an added bonus because they're single action. Like we can't use double action. It's not, they don't look right. So that same thing, like I'm not going to use my hunting rifle, my Seiko,
it doesn't look right.
Yeah, it doesn't look right.
Okay.
So the firearms are all single action, and they're more wood and but they're not specifically from the 1880s themselves because they're all functioning firearms. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. We do have a couple members that have like original Colts, that kind of stuff. We've got some flintlocks, black powder, but majority of them they're modern to look like. They're your reproduction.
Right.
Essentially. Bart, can you put in on that one at all?
Well, again, yeah, my colleagues are quite right there. I mean, it's varied. Generally, when we're doing reenactments and that, we tend to use cartridge guns simply because there's a greater degree of safety. There are blanks, but for instance, black powder handguns, there's the danger of chain fire and so on. All the cylinders will go off at once when you load it. So we'll tend to use cartridge guns and of course, as my colleagues have said, single action, because that was what it was in the 1880s generally. Now, yes, some of the guns are from that era. They are that age, and they're generally they will not necessarily be used. They'll be collector items. And then, of course, the companies that exist today, Pieta, Ruger, and that make reproductions that look like the 1880s, but in fact, they are current guns that are made today and simply are stronger and so on. There's just evolution in the firearms that they'll take a pounding and keep on shooting.
So while we're talking about current firearms, I just want to touch on something that we spoke to when we were chatting a week or so ago, Black Bart, before we switch to ladies in the shooting industry. I just want to touch quickly on Bill C-21. As reenactors, how is that going to affect you as an organization with certain guns being banned or not available for licensing, purchasing, transferring, etc.? What's the impact to you guys?
Great question. Again, because in the past couple of years, we thought maybe it was all over for us. The way the current federal government is taking their path. And however, since then, there's been some clarification. As you're well aware, we have an Alberta only chief firearms office now, and the chief firearms officer in Alberta is very much, I guess, so to speak, working with us to ensure that we can continue to do what we do, which is to entertain. We're not about any particular cause. It's we just simply say we're an entertainment function here. Please let us do that. And right at this point, as you say, the current legislation that exists right now, we cannot buy another one. Frankly, I don't need another one. I have lots, but to a new member that maybe want to acquire a firearm right now, that is affecting them. But of course, we're able to take and have a member use one of our firearms as long as we are within a distance such that we can affect the outcome of something going wrong. And so it's not like they can't participate. And quite frankly, there are some members that choose not to have firearms. So really, it's business as usual for us. And I guess perhaps if you've heard lately here provincially, I think it's Bill number 8 or something, there's some proposal whereby the province is looking to go on their own to allow people to acquire restricted firearms. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I guess to go back to what you were asking, yes, right now, business as usual. And it, quite frankly, I guess the testimony to that is we have got 17 inquiries to take and entertain people this summer, which is what we do. And whereas in, I guess, the start of when this was going on with the new bill and that, there was some reluctance for people to come and look to us as an entertainment option. That is vastly changed. The unfortunate firearms disasters in the United States, and in Canada, we thought might be our demise, but no, it is turning out people are realizing that it isn't guns that take and cause those, it's the people. And so we're open for business, and to all your listeners, we're there. Please come and join us, or if you'd like us to come and entertain, we're happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the candor in responding to that question. So, Kelly, now let's flip it over to the ladies and why ladies are doing this and why they like doing it and all that stuff. We are a She Shoots podcast. So
Why do you like being a reactors?
Yeah.
Somebody else from a different era. It's so much fun. Like, that's the biggest one I can't accentuate enough. Like, I get to go back in time, and like sometimes I'm Outlaw Annie. There's also other times where you can see me as Annie Oakley. Like, it's just, we get to be in somebody from a different time for a period of time.
Yeah.
Just leave society. Have fun.
Again, it sounds fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
Absolutely. Like, I would love to see more women in our group. It's not we don't have loads of women, but the women we do have, we're all great. But yeah. I'd love to see more women involved in our group. Like, my kids are getting there. My 13-year-old loves to do it, but I won't let her wear a corset dress.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not quite yet. Yeah.
No. What about you, Ruby? You told us about why you wanted to become someone who participates in Guns of the Golden West. But what's some of your favorite memories? You've been only with them for a little bit of time, but what's some of the most favorite memories you've had so far?
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite memories was we did the prelude at the Calgary Stampede parade, and we put on a couple of bank robbery shootouts at every intersection before the parade actually started. And that really got people's attention at about 6:37 in the morning.
Okay.
And it also got everybody pretty riled up as well, because that's not something you see every day, and it's not something that you expect in downtown Calgary. And, you know, just seeing everybody's faces at the intersection, you know, especially I believe I was the only female bad guy. And as playing a bad guy, you have to get everybody pretty riled.
Yeah.
You know, telling everybody what you're about to do, and seeing some of the little girls in the audience saying, "Oh, that's really cool. She's a bad guy." You know, it's really fun to see, you know, how the audience reacts to it. And, you know, being up on the stagecoach, helping one of our other members drive his 4-hitch of Percherons for the Guns of the Golden West, that's always really cool too. So I think sort of those great big events where you can really make an impact and leave a bit of a stamp, those are my favorite.
So what is your opinion? You said you wish there was more women into it, and then you were also talking about this little girl who thought it was really cool you're a bad guy. So what is your opinion about getting more women into this? How can they become part of this activity, or should they become part of this activity as well?
I'll let Ruby answer that one.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't matter what background you come from. It doesn't matter who you are as a person. If you have, you know, a knack for either historical reenactment or improv, or you just want to try something new, you don't necessarily have to be into the guns per se. Like Black Bart said, you don't have to shoot the guns to be a part of the group. So I think it's open to pretty much anybody. And coming from, you know, as we all know, I'm a history dork. History wasn't just, you know, the old white guys. There was women like us. You had Mary Fields. She was an African-American stagecoach driver back in the 1880s. There's everybody involved, and there can be everybody involved. And I think, you know, there's a lot of potential. And if you have any inkling as to want to maybe join and see what it's all about, we're open to absolutely anybody.
That's wonderful. I heard you even open to having somebody maybe from the She Shoots podcast be on in that bubble bath on the float there.
We're working on that.
I thought we were going to be on the roof, Bob. I don't know if you want her in with the bathtub with you. Because just a heads up.
And who said it was a bubble bath? Really?
Bart did last week. So.
Still, you don't want to be in a bubble bath with Bart. That's his annual bath. You may still not want to go near him.
It's all about reenacting.
It's all about reenacting, absolutely. So if you ladies and yourself, Black Bart, wanted to give a piece of advice to the ladies or the young ladies that might be watching or listening to this podcast, why should ladies get involved in and around the firearms industry? And maybe why should they take a look at reenacting as an opportunity to do that?
Colleagues, do you want to field
Well,
that?
for me, the biggest one is because I've got 2 young daughters. Just because they save all back in the days, it's a man's sport, doesn't mean nothing. As far as I'm concerned, like with Ruby, with hers, can shoot straighter and shoot. Sorry, how does it go? Shoot straighter.
Ride faster and shoot straighter than
There
any
we go.
man alive.
Yeah, than any man alive. So, and yeah, it's just because they say guns are for men, I don't believe that at all. Us women, no offense, I've got a bigger arsenal than my own husband. So I've collected all my parents, everything. As they get older, it comes down to me. And like my 13-year-old daughter loves it. She loves to come out and hunting with me. Just like I did with my dad. My mom wasn't a hunter, but my dad was, and I learned everything from dad. I actually agree with that. Without women, there is no firearm industry. So, yeah. Ruby?
Thanks. Yeah. Any other words of advice or reasons why it's so important for ladies to do this?
Yeah, I mean, knowing how to use a firearm and to know how to use it properly is something that is almost, I don't want to say it's a dying trade, but you know, there's a lot of 21st century stigma around it. And I think the biggest, most important thing about firearms is know how to use them correctly. And when you can use them and use them correctly, I think there's something very powerful about that, especially as a female. Now, in today's age and in the 1880s, I mean, that's not saying that this is a new thing. It's been around a long time for women. So, you know, I think just carrying on, like Kellyanne or Outlaw Annie said, you know, there's no industry without women. So.
And I think to the point that you said earlier about your pioneering, hearkening back perhaps to that field to plate, a lot of that activities very much being taken up by women in the last decade, and we're seeing a lot more of it. So I think you're right, knowing how to operate a firearm as part of sustenance, or in your case, Outlaw Annie, getting the varmints off your ranch. Also important.
Very much.
Yeah.
Oh.
Outstanding. Well, I noticed we've got about 11 minutes left in the podcast, Kelly, and we've got prizes and guns and questions. Did we leave any questions on the table before we open it up?
We did, but I think that a lot of the people that are listening currently, I know that Casey's been in the background starring some of these questions. So I think that once we pull those up, then some of the questions that we had will also be answered as well. So why don't we actually get into that question period with the people that have been listening. So we're going to turn it over to Casey at this point, I think, so that we can do that Q&A. And then we'll get into giving away some prizes. How about that?
Sounds like a plan. All right, Casey, it's up to you.
All right. So the first question we have for our guests is from Tim Everett, and he's asking if any of your members ever do any SASS participation.
Yes, actually, a number of our members are SAS. Or members. Actually, Black Bart is a member of SAS. He can talk a little more about that one if he wants.
Well, yes. What is SAS?
Yeah.
Single Action Shooting Society. And of course, it's headquartered in the United States. And as a matter of fact, of course, each person has a particular name and number associated with it. To give you an example, I'm Black Bart here when we do the Guns of the Golden West. But when I'm competing with SAS, my name is Henry Boston Drew. That's my character. And so that's a registered name. And so that's what's on any of the documents and so on. So it's quite It's almost like the rodeo circuit to our listener here. I mean, they, as they probably know, summertime in that, well, not even summertime, it starts, in the United States a lot earlier. You go from one town to the next and you do a shoot. And some people refer to it as 3-gun, which of course is 2 pistols and then the shotgun and then usually a lever gun for a rifle. And so it's quite common there. And do a number of our members? Yes, there's probably 5 of our members that are currently SAS members, and it's not as active up in Canada here, but there is shoots up here. There used to be, of course, a couple of Rocky Mountain House, and then actually, ironically, on Vancouver Island.
So Bart, one of the questions that
Black
we had
Bart, before we move from that.
Somebody's got a leg.
Tell you how we got so much delay tonight. Yeah. Were you going to ask about his name?
Yeah, we didn't cover that.
Okay, the character now. So, our characters can be real or imagined. In this particular case, Black Bart was an actual character. He was the gentleman bandit. He would rob stagecoaches. He did it over a period of 8 years. Never fired a shot the entire time. As a matter of fact, he used to take and rob the Wells Fargo stagecoach by holding it up, and he would say, "Please, will you throw down the strong box?" He was a very gentlemanly robber, and he only got wounded once. Never fired his gun. The shotgun he used when he was robbing often was empty. He'd never put a round in it. And so at any rate, he was the gentleman, true to the word. So this actual character did exist. And it's one I play. Now, as my colleagues know, I have 37 other different looks that I have, but that's just one of them that I do play.
Oh.
Thank you.
Casey, are there any other questions?
All right, Casey.
Yes, there are a couple. I'm trying to keep up. Everybody's suddenly commenting at the end.
Okay.
All right, so our next one is from Doobie Weiler. And it's, are you able to, I'm guessing she's asking if you can buy your outfits or if you make them yourself.
We do both. Actually, there is a lot of different websites you can purchase from. Like there's the Western Emporium. Myself, I make a lot of mine. I was lucky enough. I have a friend of mine that does reenactment in BC, and she's very big into sewing. And she came out and helped me joined us for a summer when they weren't doing anything, and got me into it. And now I can turn a old prom dress or an old wedding dress into a lady's dress, anything. So, but like, there's loads of different websites.
And the good thing about this group as well is if you don't have a specific item, somebody else does. Because we were at an event last year and we were actually just doing sort of a behind the scenes safety event for us. But we did a sort of impromptu event that night. And I didn't have anything, so I actually wore one of Outlaw Annie's costumes because I wasn't just going to wear my jeans and t-shirts. So there's other people who have stuff if you don't have anything.
That's right. That's when we ended up improvising at that dinner at Water Valley.
Yes, I was Outlaw Annie for a night.
Yeah, she was. One of Outlaw Annie's outfits, at least.
All right, and one more from Doobie Weiler, and she's asking, do you think it's easier to play a woman with a gun in the past or a woman using a gun now?
Ruby, can you answer that one?
I would say, to sort of answer that question, it's a bit of both because, we are playing historically based characters, but in reality, we are women with guns in the present. And, all the behind the scenes work that we do to make sure that we are all good to go, certified, we know what we're doing. Yeah. It is both in a way. You can kind of put on that facade of, Outlaw Annie or Black Bart or Ruby Roan, but you still are being a responsible firearms owner, especially when we're doing events in the public. So it is both.
Yeah.
I like that answer. It's a good answer.
I think that's it for questions.
There's a great one actually that Maria has just asked, and it's one we typically ask at the end of the interviews. Do you have any tips for youth getting into the sport?
Don't stop asking questions. There's no stupid question, only stupid answers. Same thing I always said when I got into rodeo. It was the same thing when I wanted a barrel race. I asked every single question there was under the sun. But just don't stop asking questions and just do it to have fun. It's like a child with any sport. Whether you're hockey, you're doing single action shooting, anything, have fun.
I think if I can just add there as well, sorry, folks, in terms of just give us a test drive. We as you know, have you come out as a guest initially just to see what we do and smell the gunpowder burning and the event. It's just a trial basis. There's no commitment. And so just come and find out if we're what you'd like to do. And you would like a little bit of escapism, as I referred to it, by all means. I would say to your listeners, give us a try. Come and meet Outlaw Annie and Ruby Roan and Black Bart. We'll show you around.
Thank you so much.
Where can we do that, Black Bart? I know you guys are here in Calgary. We've talked about the Easter Gun Show. We've talked about Stampede. Are there a couple of places you guys are already locked into where we could come and visit you?
We're actually going
reenacting.
Sure. There's some possibilities coming up here that will be active. We're going to be up at, I know this is down the road right now. There'll be many more, but like, for instance, there'll be an event in Innisfail that we'll be involved in. That we're actually going to be involved in Chestermere, the Chestermere Ag Society on the Labor Day weekend. We're going to be out there, and that'll be an open event for one and all to come and see us. And we're always happy to have someone new come visit us there. There will be other events that we're going to be doing in the city here. That's just local. I was just going to say we're going to Regina as well on the August long weekend, but that's not local. So there will be, we're going to take and put the events up on our webpage.
We have people listening from across Canada.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, we have people from across Canada listening in the U.S. Sure. Yeah.
The Labor Day weekend, of course, Chestermere. The August long weekend will be in Regina. There's an event that we're perhaps going to be up in Red Deer during Westerner Days, and that'll be an open event there. So please stay tuned to our website. We'll post these on our website as well as they come along.
And we are on social media too. We are on social media as well. So we have a Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at Guns of the Golden West. And then we just created a new Instagram page. The handle is Guns Golden West. So it's a fairly new page, but we are active on both of those platforms as well.
Perfect.
So as Ruby says, like, there's lots of ways of staying in touch with us, and an old fellow like me, the telegraph, and that is how I operate. But my young colleagues are with it, so to speak, in this day and age.
Well, we have one more.
Sorry, I just saw the one message there from Tim regarding the planning and everything. And yes, depending on the event and the client's needs, sometimes this can take us weeks. We plan for months. Like, I know I was planning to do Regina. I'm not going to give any hints up on it. It's going to be a fun one. I know that. I'll say that much. But that one is going to be completely scripted. We won't be doing improv. Improv will happen, but sometimes we are very much scripted if the client wants it.
Perfect. So if people do want to engage you for their events, they can go to your website and contact you through there. Is that the best method, Bart?
Sure. And as Ruby said as well, too, of course, we're involved with Facebook and with Instagram as well. So feel free, if you are on those platforms, to reach out to us there too.
Awesome.
And we had one more question come in as we were talking. So This one's from Maria as well. And is there anything that youth can do to help promote the sport and get more youth involved?
So we're talking with the reenactment or with like the sport of like shooting?
I think both.
Both. Well, it's proven with reenactment with Guns of Golden West. Like we have everything from my daughter's the youngest member. She became a member less than 24 hours old. And that to our active members, our oldest active member is 83 years old. Like it doesn't matter. Like my 13-year-old daughter, she's got a bunch of friends that are interested in seeing what we do. No offense, we're all getting older. If we want to keep doing this, we've got to get the younger ones involved.
Yeah.
I just to add that we operate in what's called the summer skirmish. That's going to be on the 25th and 26th of August this year. That'll be at the military museums. Again, we'll encourage everybody to come and visit with us there, because we then give the youth an opportunity to up close and personal see what the blank handgun does and sounds like. And we actually, with instruction on that, we do show them an opportunity to take and pop a few balloons.
That's awesome.
So that gives the youth.
Oh, that's
and of course,
great. That's
we encourage
fantastic.
the parents obviously are there too, because of course they're under the age of majority. But that actually is a good thing, because the parent and the child both can get comfortable with what we do.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's time for us. I think all the questions are done, right, Casey?
That's right.
Okay, so while we're going to get into giving some giveaways, I think Mitchell's been sitting in the background. We're going to bring him in, and Rahina is going to actually take over as well. But before we go, Ruby Roan and Outlaw Annie and Black Bart, thank you so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to actually seeing you when I go out to Alberta this year. So, and I think a lot of people will be after listening to the show, they're all going to be interested in seeing you guys as well. So thank you all so much for coming on tonight.
Absolutely.
We're happy for the opportunity, and
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
Well, if you want to ever give us a trial run, just get a hold of us. It's probably Bart you'll get a hold of.
Okay.
But yeah, if you have a certain weekend, if we have something going on, you can ride shotgun.
Well, I'm going to come out for the Calgary Stampede, and I'm going to see if Deneen is in that actual bathtub.
I'll try to be there too. I want to see that.
We're negotiating.
We can negotiate. That's not an issue. Heck, I've got enough kit.
Good to know.
I could probably kit you ladies all up, and you can be on the float.
You understand it's a bathtub, okay? It's not a lot of kit needed.
No more than 2 in the bathtub.
Perfect.
We'll just
right.
the ladies of She Shoots will be known as the Bathtub Bandits.
I actually like that.
I don't hate it, it's okay.
Rahina, it's over to you.
Yes. So let's keep everyone waiting, and let's start with our 2 smaller prizes, and then we'll introduce Mitchell. I think that's what we're gonna do. So Casey, can you help me out, and let's give out our first prize. Let's do the She Shoots t-shirt.
All right. So our winner for the first She Shoots t-shirt is Doobie Weidler.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations.
There. And then, she's on YouTube, so she'll need to email you, correct?
I believe Doobie's won stuff from us before, so I'm pretty sure I have her information already. So
yeah, there you go. Okay, perfect. So then let's do a second prize. So we'll do our Canada First Ammo prize pack. So who won that?
That's going to go to Jamie Lee Biggs.
Hey, congrats, Jamie Lee.
Awesome. Congratulations to our winners. So let's do a big prize draw. Can I speak to that? Apparently not. Anyway, so March 8th was International Women's Day. And as I had mentioned earlier, we had some events that we hosted alongside some university clubs throughout Canada. I was lucky to go to the one in Vancouver, Deneen to the one in Calgary, and Kelly to the one in Ontario. So Thank you for everyone that participated. So that was a lot of fun. And because of International Women's Day, Beretta gave us a gun, our Sacco S20, to give away for today's podcast. So Mitchell from the CUSF will be announcing the winners. So Mitchell, the platform's all yours.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for everyone who came out to Calgary last week. If any of you were listening, I had a lot of fun, even though there wasn't too much for me and the boys to do. We just kind of kept the range clean and let the ladies do all the work. Anyways, before I draw, big thanks to Stoger and Beretta for setting up this draw. Big on them for getting the S20, and also a big thanks to all our partners who helped promote. Big thanks to Emily and Sandra, our 2 board members, who really pounded the paint and got this out as far as they could, as well as our partners in the industry like Vortex, who also shared the draw as well. With that out of the way, I'm going to open up the random number generator and figure out who won.
Perfect. I'm so while he's doing that, I anybody who wins this prize, it's a fantastic prize. I'm actually very sorry that I came, or the rest of us ladies when she shoots can't actually enter, but somebody's going to win this amazing prize. So okay, Mitch, are you ready? Because I was actually just trying to fill air.
Still drawing, don't worry. Okay, so I pulled the winner, and the winner of the gun is Joe Petoskey.
Oh, nice.
And your number was 17. So congrats, Joe. We will contact you and get you in touch with Stoger, and we'll get that gun into your hands.
Perfect. Congratulations, Joe.
Awesome.
And Joe, if you can let Kelly use it, she's really dying to give it a try.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I don't know if you want to say anything else, Mitchell, or you want to chill, or.
No, that's all I have to say. I'm just getting everything written down, but thanks for letting me come on again, guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
No problem. Anytime.
Thanks, Mitchell.
Okay, so now that we did the fun part, let's get to some executive steps and announcements. So this is more of an announcement for all the university clubs. So for the month of March, the club that submits the most shotgun scores will win a pizza party paid by the CUSF up to $100. So I would suggest just get your members out shooting and submit those scores, and good luck with that. Hopefully you win a pizza party. So that's it for me. Kelly, any maple seed stuff?
Well, we have already commenced our maple seed season here in Ontario and BC. By the way, Casey, Kamloops got an event this weekend going on. But as I said, we have a lot of events that are going to be coming up this year in provinces, all the provinces across the country. So that's fantastic. Our events right now are currently being posted on our website. Go to mapleseedrifleman.com or just type in Project Mapleseed. It'll populate that. Go into our events section. It'll tell you about the events that are happening. As events are confirmed, we are adding them. So we're going to have a lot this year, I think. But we are looking forward to having our CUSIF events in the fall with all of the CUSIF university clubs. So look for those if you're a CUSIF member. And as I said, maybe I'll even be coming out to Alberta and BC to have some of our Lady Seed events as well. And I'm excited about that this year. I get to do that. So watch for those on our website. What about you, Deneen and Casey?
Well, Casey and I are talking about what we're going to do in BC in the summer. So it'll be in and around the Kamloops area, probably shotgun, rifle, and pistol again. And there's a group in Tabor that have reached out to me. They're looking for something. 3 groups in Edmonton and 1 in Red Deer. We had so much fun at the Calgary Shooting Center last week. We're going to get those underway, and not a Lady Guns event, but the Shooting Edge has launched a full women's program. They have a club for girls.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's
super
awesome.
excited about it. They've got some interesting things going on, and unfortunately, I couldn't be there because I was over at the Calgary Shooting Center helping to host the International Women's Day. But I'm going to go over and check that out And yeah, super excited and just so super pleased to see that we've got more ladies events popping up all over the place. So yeah, lots going on in the planning, no dates to share. And of course, I'm super excited to hopefully get out and help Kelly and the group at Project Maple Seed, because I patched out last year, but I haven't gotten a chance to learn how to teach yet. So maybe I'll be a helper.
I'm hoping that you'll be able to come out to our ladies events so that we're doing in Alberta. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So if we don't have any announcements, once again, thank you to our guests for today. It was very interesting, very cool to learn about all of what you guys do. And once again, I'll thank our sponsors, Cabela's Canada Outdoor Fund, Savage Arms, Beretta, Vortex, and Canada First Ammo. If you like today's episode, please leave us a like and follow us so that you don't miss out on any of our episodes. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. If you liked our message and would like to learn more about our programs, check out our websites at cusf.ca, ladyguns.ca, and mapleseedrifleman.com. To support us and get some additional perks, check out our membership programs. Thank you all for tuning into the She Shoots podcast, episode 15, Guns of the Golden West. Make sure to join us on April 11 for episode 16, keeping us on target with the Canadian Shooting Federation's mental performance consultant, Chloe Guignon. Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.